Last night on MasterChef Australia, the blue team faced a 4-part test of their pastry cooking skills.
This is the point where it can all fall apart.
And for one, the competition ended.
Cleo.
I'm definitely proud that I had the courage to actually come into the competition. I think I stayed true to myself with what I cooked.
Tonight, it's MasterClass.
So this is my one-pot winter special.
Gary slow cooks the perfect Osso Buco.
See how it's just...
George wraps up a French seafood delight.
My snapper on Papillote.
An expert's guide to gourmet sausages.
Made it look very easy.
And for dessert, an extra special treat.
The irresistible Donna making a classic baked cheesecake.
I really enjoy MasterClass days because it's the one day where we can kick back, learn about food, have a bit of fun, and there's no elimination. No one goes home. MasterClass, it's such a great environment to expand your food knowledge.
One of the reasons I came on MasterChef is to grow as a cook. Every time we go to MasterClass, it's just a new opportunity to learn.
Welcome to your masterclass. Remember, this is an opportunity for you to sit down, take some notes, and watch George and I dish out the techniques, show you something new, something that you can bank and maybe use in this competition. Remember, information is power. Knowledge is everything in this competition. When you get thrown a curveball, having that little recipe, that little technique that you can pull out when you want is exactly what makes the difference. The difference between staying and moving on or possibly going home. In this week's team challenge, you found yourself on beautiful Cronulla Beach. But the challenge wasn't easy. It was a sausage sizzle for the nippers. You made sausages, you made gelato. The rules were simple. The team that made the most money was the winning team. And that turned out to be the red team, led by Michael. Well done. The reality is, both teams encountered problems. And that's what these challenges are all about. An opportunity to learn, to take you out of your comfort zone.
Well, that brings us to this week's private masterclass, and we've got a ripper installed for you this week. He worked at Marco Pierre White's restaurant in London, Mirabelle. He also then came to Australia and worked for Guillaume Brahimi at Bennelong. He heads up the kitchen at Victor Churchill's butchery. 2 lucky contestants are going to spend the day with Romeo Baudouin and learn how to make gourmet sausages. The first person we're going to send to this private masterclass is Craig. Craig, you were the captain of the blue team, and we thought you did a brilliant job. I think it'll be a great opportunity to refine your sausage-making skills.
Fantastic, looking forward to it.
And the second person going to this private masterclass is Hayden. We thought you did extremely well out there spruiking with the kids. I think a great opportunity for you to go and join Craig and learn some valuable techniques.
Yeah, definitely.
Craig, Hayden, you got a big day ahead of you. Off you go.
Going on a masterclass with Romeo Baudouin, who's one of Sydney's #1 gourmet butchers, is going to be quite a unique experience. It's going to give us heaps of knowledge. Really looking forward to it.
First up in masterclass, we're going to get back to basics and cook something that I think everyone at home should know how to do. We're going to do an Italian classic, and that's Osso Buco. Osso Buco's got to be one of my absolute favourites, and a winter favourite, and a one-pot wonder, which is all important for me as a cook at home. I love it. Easy washing up, that's what it's all about.
Gary, I love Osso Buco. I think it's one of the most delicious braises, but it needs something. It needs crusty bread. So I'm going to head out, make some bread.
Make or buy?
We'll see.
See you soon.
See you soon. I forgot my coffee.
Oh, dear. The crux of what I'm showing you today with the Osso Buco is slow cooking. That's what it's all about. It's a braise, it's a stew. And it's also about using cheap cuts of meat, secondary cuts. This is thrifty cooking at its best. Osso Buco, who knows what it means? What does it mean?
At the bone, hole in the bone.
Hole in the bone, that's what it is. So that's what we're talking about. It's a piece of shin. Okay, so it's like your calf. So it's a very tough, hard-working muscle. It's got lots of sinew through it. And even though that's a young animal, if you fry that and you cook it, tough as old boots, impossible to chew, okay? So this needs long, slow cooking. And of course, that long, slow cooking is all about bringing out flavour. And so it concentrates the flavour, and that's what we all love. It's delicious. Okay, first step is just to season this meat and dust it with a little flour, okay? And really what this flour will do is give the sauce a bit of body, okay? It'll thicken it. There's a couple of different ways to do this. You can dust the meat in flour, or you can actually seal the meat and caramelise it like we did with the shepherd's pie, so it's quite dark. And then what's called singe, which just means singe the flour. So you seal the meat, sprinkle it with a little bit of flour in the same pot, and pop it in the oven until the flour browns a little, all right? And the seasoning part is important, obviously, because we've talked about how we start developing flavours from the outset, from when we start cooking, all right? So flour's on, and then what we're going to do is go to the pan and fry this until it's nice and golden brown. So in with the oil, and then lay these little veal shin pieces into the oil and colour it. Now, because there's flour on these pieces of veal, it'll need a little bit more oil than you think, because it'll form a crust, also absorb it a little bit. And because we talk about oil as being that point of contact with the product, in this case the veal, it allows it to colour evenly.
Gary, I noticed you've chosen a copper pot. Is there a reason you've used the copper over just a straight stainless pan?
I always say when choosing a pot, a heavy base pot is the key. That means it's got that nice big chunk of metal on the bottom because it's transferring the heat and it's holding the heat.
Yeah.
All right? You're seeing what's happened now, like particularly this piece, is that you're getting some nice caramelisation, not only on the meat, but also that flour. It's putting colour into the flour, and that will translate into the sauce in two ways, colour, but also the sweetness from the juices from the meat. Remember, in the heat of the competition, panicking at this stage and not spending enough time caramelising is going to cost you in terms of flavour, all right? This veal is perfectly coloured now, OK? So we're going to remove this from the pan, and then we're going to pop the vegetables in and caramelise those as the next process.
After the break,
If I lift a piece out, see how it's just...
Gary's sumptuous one-pot winter warmer proves to be a big hit.
It's good.
Then later,
When it cooks in the bag, the mousse is going to set and stick these potatoes to the top of the fillet.
George has a fabulous French dish that looks as good as it tastes. Plus, the beginner's guide to making delicious gourmet sausages. And also on the show,
I want a really nice high cheesecake.
dessert doyenne Donna Hay with a classic.
This is the first baked cheesecake I actually like.
I agree. That's delicious. So this is my one-pot winter special. We're doing that Italian classic Osso Buco. We dusted the veal shin in flour, we seasoned it, and then we caramelised it in our pan. Now to the vegetables. What we've got to do now is caramelise these vegetables. So a little bit of oil into the pan, and then we're going to add our mirepoix or basic vegetables. And they're always going to be roughly the same. Things like carrots, and I've just diced those. And I've actually diced them quite specifically into what they call a macédoine, all right, which is just a small dice, even size, all right? Because I think that goes in some part to produce a really beautiful looking dish, all right? Nice and consistent. But it's up to you. You know, if you're at home, big chunky pieces of carrot, no problem. So I put 1 carrot, 2 stalks of celery, and 1 onion in there. So we'll just let that gather a little bit of heat again. And again, at this stage, we add a little bit of seasoning. Generally, I just use salt, but you can put a little bit of pepper in. All right, again, that goes towards layering the flavours. Put in some chopped garlic. There's a couple of cloves of garlic there, but if I was at home, I might put 4, 5, 6 cloves of garlic in. Just gives it a nice depth of flavour. And then also some aromatics. In this case, I've got some thyme and a bay leaf. The reason I'm putting more oil in now, and you don't need to, is just that it's helping it caramelise evenly, OK? And then I've got a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste, because I want a nice, rich tomato sauce. We'll just stir that in and cook it out. Now, sediment's starting to build up quite quickly on the bottom, so I need to add white wine to deglaze that. Now, there's 1 cup of white wine into the pan. And then remove that sediment using your spoon from the bottom of the pan, OK? Now, we just remember, when we add white wine, you want to just burn off that alcohol and reduce it, just so that it becomes a little sweeter. Next thing is some liquids. So I've got a can of chopped tomatoes, and then I'm going to put in about 2 cups of really good stock. I'm using veal stock. I always look at it in levels in terms of adding flavour to a dish. A veal stock is a good all-rounder, OK? But in saying that, if you don't have veal stock, use chicken stock, because it's a very neutral base, very neutral flavour, and actually in some cases I think you get a better product because you let the ingredients that you're putting in shine through. Now the veal shin goes into the sauce. The key here now is just to pop these shins in and just bring this whole thing up to the boil. Pop a lid on. And you've got a choice. You can either simmer it on the stove, which I think is risky. And the reason I think it's risky is because it has a tendency to catch if the liquid thickens, or you can pop it in the oven. And for me, that's the best way of doing it. You get a nice, even, all-round heat, no risk of catching or burning. We're going to pop in some cannelli beans. Most beans need a soak if you want them to cook evenly. It's not essential. You could just, if you want, give these a wash and pop them in the stew. They will cook, all right? But what soaking does is start off a process, OK? It's rehydrating a dried product, OK? And they tend to cook more evenly, and they tend to cook a little quicker. The things that you really need to soak are things like kidney beans, right, which have a toxin in the skin, and that needs to be soaked and washed away. It just gives you indigestion. You know, it's not something that's going to kill you, but you just need to be aware of that, OK?
Soaking the beans, how long do you soak them for?
A couple of hours will do.
Yeah.
It's really, it's, like I say, if you soak them too long, then you find all the skin slip off and you end up with a broken product.
They still need cooking then after that.
But you're cooking it, and remember, this is going in the oven for 1.5 hours to 2 hours, so it's got plenty of time to cook. OK, so we've drained the water off the beans, and we're just going to rain them in and just let that simmer away while the meat's cooking. On with the lid, and we're going to pop that into a moderate oven, about 160 degrees. And this is going to take about 1.5 hours, 2 hours to cook. We'll know when it's cooked because we'll take a little piece out, press our fork through the meat and see whether it gives. If you can't do that, then the braise isn't ready. The Osso Buco's been in the oven. Smells delicious, smells beautiful. See how delicate this is, right? If I lift a piece out, see how it's just... Oh,
Oh, Gary.
I was just about to test it, George. Now, you see, now it makes sense to put it in a big pot. Yeah, tester for George, right. Now, all I'm going to do now, classically... It's good. Classically, gremolata is an accompaniment with Osso Buco. Now, I'm not going to do the full gremolata, which is lemon, parsley and garlic, but I'm just going to grate a little bit of lemon over the top. And I do this, I'm just a lemon freak. I put lemon zest in all sorts of things because I just love that little zesty finish. George, stop dipping your bread in. I haven't finished yet. And then I need to move that over here, George, so you can continue snacking. And I'm going to chop some parsley, throw it on the top. So a little bit of that broadleaf parsley. And just shred it. Don't worry about chopping it finely. So quite coarse. And we'll just put that on the top. I might get you to give that a little bit of a move around, actually, George.
Yep. You know what I love about this dish so much? It's warming, you know?
Yeah.
When you look at it, you feel...
It's winter fire, isn't it?
You feel excited. And for me, as weird as it sounds, I love the meat, but I love all the sauce. That's what I love the most, you know?
The braise is the sauce, a bit like a curry for me. I don't care about the meat, I just want the sauce. Now, this is the naughty bit. This is the fattening bit, right? but you just put a little dash in.
Oh,
just a little dash. We hardly had any oil in there at all. And you're going to get, between that parsley, the olive oil and the lemon zest, you're just going to get that lovely, fresh finish, OK? If you want to leave the olive oil out, leave it out. But for George and I, the olive oil goes in. You just carry on. Nice. So that's my one-pot winter wonder, and that's Osso Buco. So the taste test. Rachel, Kumar, Peter.
Oh, great. Yum.
I'm just going to go the bread. Help yourself.
Help yourselves. Cool.
Because we just like the sauce and the beans.
Let's go and spin that.
That's good. Oh, yum.
Oh, it is good, isn't it?
You know what?
Oh, it's so thick.
You like the Osso Buco itself, don't
I
you?
like this bit, yeah.
The whole thing is so sticky. It really coats your lips. It's absolutely great.
Beautiful. It's like syrup. It's beautiful. It's actually quite sweet, isn't it?
Kumar, you get that kick of lemon?
You even get the bit of lemon. I was just going to say that at the end, you just get the hint of lemon coming through.
Yeah, important part of the dish. And it takes something that's really, you know, like sticky and, you know,
Exactly.
and wintry, and
Against
just lightens it up. That little bit of parsley and lemon at the end does make a difference.
I can
Peter?
go on eating this forever.
Well, you know, it reminds me of winters by the fire. It's just absolutely delicious.
Guys, lovely. Grab your seats.
Thank you.
So my top 3 tips for the perfect winter braise, the Osso Buco. First one, seasoning the meat and dusting it with flour. Remember, this adds body to the sauce. Number 2, caramelization. Absolutely crucial. You want that lovely golden brown. It's all those beautiful sugars that end up in the sauce. And number 3, that long, slow cooking. 1.5 to 2 hours is ideal. And remember, test it with a fork. If it just pushes through, then you know it's cooked. There's a real art to cooking a great stew, a great braise. And I think this Osso Buco, this one-pot wonder, exemplifies that. And everyone should know how to do a great braise.
Next on MasterClass.
If it smells fishy, it's not fresh.
George has his easy tips for filleting fish and then shows us a classic French cooking technique.
I'm going to show you a combination of my own. Snapper on Papillote.
And later,
I think now is the moment where we take a generous slice, don't you?
Donna's seen stealing dessert.
There you go, guys. That is my classic baked cheesecake.
Earlier this week, you guys competed in the Lucky Dip Invention Test, which was an interesting one. It was a mixture of the Invention Test and the Mystery Box Challenge. You were split into teams of 3, and then from there you had to pick a protein and a technique and incorporate the 2 together. There were some amazing successes, but a few things that didn't go to plan. Today, I'm going to show you a combination of my own. Snapper on Papillote.
Georges, le papillote, c'est magnifique pour le poisson. Allez, au revoir. Adieu.
So clearly, I'm on my own with the subtitles. For this dish, we'll be looking at 3 techniques. Filleting the fish, making a mousse, and cooking in paper, which translates as en papillote. Michael, you're part of Team Snapper, so come up and give me a hand filleting this fish.
Cool.
Now, before we jump into the snapper, I want to talk about freshness of fish and how you identify that. Number 1, the eyes. They must be plump and juicy. If those eyes are sunken in, it means the fish is old. Number 2, the flesh of the fish. Touch that. There should be some resilience there. It should spring back at you. Underneath, inside the cavity, you should be able to put your nose in there, and if it smells fishy, it's not fresh. Fish doesn't smell fishy, okay, unless it's old. It should smell salty and sweet, like the sea. Filleting, first step. Scales. And it's important that all the scales are removed. So I take the back side of my knife and I just run it gently over the top. And look, there you go, there's one scale there. So it's really important that the scales come off the fish. Okay. The next step is to remove the fillet. So knife on an angle, and I'm following the shape of the fish. We make a nice little incision just under the gills. Then gentle, let the knife do the work. We make a little incision just on the spine there. Okay, marking where we're going to take the fillet off. Just follow the bones and gently use your knife as a blade rather than, you know, making big hacking saw marks. Just remove that off the bone and there we have it, one fillet of fish. Now, this is the next step, which is cleaning this fillet up. See, I've got these bones that are running along there. I just pop my knife underneath and just remove them, okay? And then I trim the fish up, but in its shape, all right? Now, there are a couple of bones in there. Run your finger down there.
Yep. Are they like the pin bones in salmon?
That's right, yeah. Now, bowl of water, tweezers, and I've just bought these needle nose pliers from a hardware shop. I dip it in a little bit of water just to lubricate it, and I find the bone with my index finger and slowly pull it out, and there you go. I pull it out of the fish without ripping out all the flesh. I just dip it back in the water, and the water takes the bone away from me. So we find the next bone. There you go. That's our fillet of snapper prepared. So we remove the other side. This side I'm actually going to use for mousse. Of course, our bones we use for stock, all right? Now, I'm just going to quickly remove this meat off the skin. So I just chop that up. So that's all of our trimming for mousse. Now, what I've got here is a bowl of ice and this little blender sitting in it. So it's important that you keep the meat very cold when you make a fish mousse. So we'll just pop that in the bowl. Michael, thanks a lot.
Cheers, sure.
Next step is I'm going to show you guys how to make fish mousse. Now, to it, very simple fish mousse, a little pinch of cayenne pepper, and that's just going to give it a little bit of sharpness. Salt. The most important thing when making any type of protein mousse is salt. It's going to help keep the protein together and help it not to split and, of course, give it flavour. All right, so a good pinch of salt. Now, egg white is another important thing to add to mousse. It's a protein and it's going to help make this mousse nice and light and pull it together. So one egg white. The next step is to blend. Right, we've made this fine puree of the fish mousse. And you can see it's nice and smooth. The next step is to add a tablespoon of thickened cream. Maybe another little tablespoon. And then some lemon zest. And I think lemon zest and fish, it's just a fantastic combination. So that's zest of about half a lemon. And then blend. It might seem quite weird what I'm going to do right now, but I'm going to taste this mousse, right, while it's raw to understand if it's got enough salt. You're not going to kill yourself. It's fresh, it's minced up, it's a little bit of egg white. There's nothing wrong, OK? Who wants to come and taste? Matt, come up, mate. All right.
Wow, the texture's like incredible.
In terms of seasoning?
The seasoning, the flavour's definitely good depth of flavour as well.
Great, good. And don't be scared of tasting mousse like that, yeah? OK, good stuff. Right, guys, now it's time to remove this out of the bowl here. I'm just going to remove that, pop that into another bowl with ice underneath so it stays super cold for me. So, guys, we've filleted our fish, we've made our fish mousse. The next step is to make our little potato scales over the fish and our saffron onions.
When we return, George has some clever tricks to turn his dish into a masterpiece.
We're going to put a little bit of the mousse on top and create fish scales using the potato. We're cooking my snapper on Papillote. Now, we've already filleted the fish, made the mousse. The next step is to make the saffron onions. Very simple. I've got these 2 white onions that we've finely sliced. Now, to that, we're going to add lots of olive oil, okay? Because basically, we want these onions to confit in olive oil. The next thing we need to add to our onions before we turn the gas on and start cooking them is saffron. It's the stamen of the crocus, and they say they pull only 3 stamen out of each flower. Now, I've actually been fortunate enough to be in Gozani where the saffron's grown and picked this with little ladies. Absolutely amazing experience. So expensive, this stuff, but amazing fragrance. And of course, it leaches out the most beautiful colour. A little pinch of that in the onions. The next thing we're going to add is star anise. I don't know what happens, but when you add star anise to onions, it increases the meatiness of the onions. It just makes them delicious. So 2 star anise, pinch of salt, and then we just turn the gas on really low, lid on it, and we leave that for about 45 minutes to cook very, very slowly. The next step is to produce the potato scales for the top of the snapper. All we do is top and tail the potato so it's nice and flat. And then we take these cooking cutters. So we're going to take cutter number 2 and then place the cutter on top, and with gentle force, we just push the cutter through. Give it a little tap so you can see it come through the other side, and then we just push that out. And we end up with these little barrel shapes. At this point here, we take a mandolin, right, and we're just going to slice that very gently. You should use a guard, yeah? All right, and what we end up with these is sort of flat little rounds of potato. Now, to cook these, we pop them into a pot, some water, a little pinch of saffron and some salt, and we gently bring them up to the boil. And what we end up with are these potatoes that have been cooked in saffron. They've taken on the colour of the saffron as well as the flavour. Sun, you had a question?
You just want those brought to the boil, so not...
Brought to the boil, enough for them just to be cooked through.
Yep.
We still want to hold their shape. We don't want them to cook so they're mushy.
Yeah.
All right? So these will take probably, 4 to 5 minutes maximum. And we just pull them off and let the residual heat cook them through. So our potatoes cook, so we're just going to strain that through a sieve. Now it's time to assemble our snapper. So, of course, we're going to be cooking this on Papillote, which means in paper. But before we do that, we're going to put a little bit of the mousse on top and create fish scales using the potato. So a little bit of our fish mousse. And we just gently smear the top of the fish fillet. Now, this is going to add 2 things. Be able to stick our scales onto the fish, add flavour. So we just want a thin film. The next step is to start placing our saffron potato scales on the fish. I mean, look what the saffron's done. You know it's good saffron when it's really vibrant in colour. They're literally hinging on fluoro. You've got to think about this, that the potato's pretty much cooked. The mousse is that glue between the fish fillet and the potato. When it cooks, the mousse is going to set and stick these potatoes to the top of the fillet. Right, guys, now it's time to cook the fish in paper. So what I've done here is I've cut out some grease-proof paper in the shape of an AFL football. Right, our onions have been cooking for about 45 minutes to an hour, really gently, and you see what happened. Stuff is like just beautiful, it's gold, yeah? So we take some of the onions, and this is gonna give it lots of flavour, but also insulate the bottom of the fish while we cook it. And we take our fish, place it on our onions, then another little drizzle of oil, some seasoning of salt, and then it's time to put this baby to bed. So we start from one end and we just fold. You know, fold it like we're making a pasty. You need to make sure that it's secure. You want to create a chamber in there, so if there's a hole in there, the steam's going to escape and you're not going to get that lovely sort of steaming effect. Right, guys, into a tray, into an oven, 200 degrees preheated for 10 minutes.
George, I noticed you didn't season the fish before you put it in. Was that on purpose? Do you season it afterwards with that sort of process?
Because you can imagine this, so you have these pre-made before service in a bag. If I season them 2 hours before I cook them, it's going to cure the fish and leach out all of its moisture. So I know now those onions are really seasoned and meaty. They're going to give flavour to the fish. The potatoes are seasoned. I gave it a little crack of salt over the top of it as well. And then when it comes out again, I can give it another little pinch. But yeah, if I leave the salt on there, it's just going to draw out moisture and be dry. Right, that's 10 minutes, so our snapper en papillote should be cooked.
George, don't you open that before I get in there.
It's so hot, Gary. It's so
Oh,
hot.
look, let me help you. Look,
Can you pop it on there? Thank you. All right, let's give this a little snip and see how it's come out.
It smells delicious. Just got this big whiff of saffron. I don't know if you got it from over there. Saffron and caramelised onion. It's delicious.
There you go. And then just to give it a little bit of zhuzh, some of these shisha leaves. Well, there you have it, guys. My snapper en papillote. Who wants to taste? Arena, Sun, and Michael. Michael, you go first. Make sure you get some onions.
That's beautiful. The sweetness of the onions at the end is fantastic.
Sun, Arena, come on, dig in.
Texturally, that's like the onions are really soft and then the fish is firm, but the potatoes are this weird combination of the two, where they've still got structure. They're not mushy.
And you don't really notice the crunch missing. Like, it's just all goes so well together.
You know what I love about it? It's because the onions have got that sort of umami, sort of meaty taste, and then you've got that beautiful, delicate fish, and then a kick of sunshine at the end.
It's true.
Right, guys, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Here are my top tips for snapper en papillote. Number 1, when filleting fish, use a sharp knife. Number 2, when making a fish mousse, make sure the bowl that you're blending up the fish with is super cold. And number 3, en papillote means the bag must be sealed so you create steam inside and everything cooks beautifully. We all know how to steam, but this is steaming with a difference. Steaming in a bag which captures all the essence of the flavour and, of course, puts so much love into your food.
Up next,
You need to be quite gentle, okay, because the casing is quite fragile.
Romeo Baudouin with the beginner's guide to making your own gourmet sausages.
I bet ours don't look like that.
Victor Churchill is one of the best butchers in Sydney, probably actually Australia. So doing a private masterclass here is going to be incredible.
Wow, far out. This is my first private masterclass, so it's going to be good to learn about different cuts, sausages, you know, all that stuff.
Hi guys, welcome to Victor Churchill. I'm Romeo Baudouin. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Romeo.
Good to meet you.
I'm a charcutier. Basically, he's sort of a butcher, just work only the pork. As a head chef for Victor Churchill, that's my responsibility to make sure everything is perfect, look impeccable, and taste good. Gary and George asked me to do a private masterclass and share my food knowledge with you.
Fantastic, great.
So today we're going to make fresh sausages, okay? I'm going to show you from the start the type of cut of the pork we're going to use. So the first one we're going to make, it's a basic pork Toulouse. It's a traditional pork sausage from the southwest of France. And from that mix, we're going to make two other sausages. We're going to make a pork Italian, and finally, a pork and apple cider sausage.
Oh, sounds good. Sounds real good.
So today we're going to use the pork shoulder because the texture of the meat is nice and strong, and same for the fat. It will help for the mincing to get something nice and chunky. If you use something a little bit softer, it will come from like a paste during the mincing, and you want to avoid that. So the shoulder is the base for the sausages. So we've got the pork shoulder, 80% of lean and 20% of fat. And I did marinate that with the salt, around 9 grams.
Yep.
1 gram of fresh chopped garlic and 1 gram of ground white pepper.
Okay.
And I did that yesterday, so allowed to marinate for at least 24 hours in refrigerated, okay?
Okay.
For the sausages we're gonna do, I use a size 10 for the plate. I want the chunkiness, so that's what I'm gonna use. So as you can see, we've got a very nice chunk of meat from the mincing, and that's what you want. You can see the difference between the lean and the fat, like a sort of a nice marble, you know, between the two, you know. And if now you could do the same things, okay? So put your mince on the mincer and start to mince. Beautiful. So the next step, we're gonna mix the mince with a little bit of water. And usually it's around 10% of the weight. Okay, so here we get a half a kilo, so we're gonna put around 50 grams. The reason why is just to help the mix to combine the lean and the fat together. And second, is going to be a little bit more easy to push to the casing. And I'm gonna mix until everything is nice and combined. And you know when it's done is when the mix starts to stick on your hand and in the bowl. And now you can start to do yours. So you're putting the mince in your bowl and 50 grams of water.
When we made these at Cronulla, we also put rice flour in them. Is there a reason why you would do that at home?
Personally, I don't. I know people do sort of things like that. I guess it's from during the war. There was no meat around, and there was bulking up the mince with some flours, okay? Now we're going to fill the mince to the casing. And for that pork Toulouse, we're gonna use a pork casing.
If you wanted to buy those, would you buy them just from your butcher? Would they sell those?
Yeah, usually most of the butcher, they use natural casing.
Okay.
So you should be able to find it anywhere.
And if you're a vegetarian, do you actually make a vegetarian sausage, or is that not allowed?
Not in that shop.
Not in the shop, okay.
Not in the shop.
That's a pork casing. Always before to use, you need to rinse in under the warm water, okay? The reason why is first, you're going to wash all the salt, because that's the way we preserve them. And the second is to help to stretch it out. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna push the Toulouse in a packing bag. So you're opening your bag and you're putting your mix inside. You're pushing the mix until right to the end. Putting your bag around your thumb, okay? And you twist a little bit the bag, okay? So that's going to give you your pressure. So putting the casing until you have to do nozzle. The reason why is when you're going to give a little bit of pressure, the casing is not going to go. So that when that happens, you put it back here. So you're holding the casing with your fingers, and with your hand, you start to push, okay? And that hand as well, at the same time, going to help the flow of the mincing. You need to be a little bit patient, okay? Okay, so you can do like that as well. You need to push it down. And you need to be quite gentle, okay? Because the casing is quite fragile. That's sort of the length you're going to have with around half a kilo. So what you're looking for is looking for a good pressure to your casing. You end tight one side, and there I'm going to make around 2 thick sausages there. Okay, so what you do, you pinch the middle, of the casing, and with the other hand, you're gonna twist it, okay? And after, you just tie it.
Simple. Piece of cake.
Made it look very easy.
I bet ours don't look like that.
And now it's going to be your turn, guys, okay? So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put the mincing in your piping bag, okay? There we go. It's not easy, as you can see, you know? It's,
yeah.
You know, you have to be very patient.
Oh, no.
That's happened sometimes. It's not a problem, can be fixed. That's great, beautiful. So guys, congratulations. You make your first pork Toulouse sausages.
Thank you.
That's a good effort. And they look great.
When we come back, Romeo has 2 more tasty twists on the humble sausage.
But you can actually taste the sort of acidity that comes with the cider, and it, yeah, again,
that's what you want.
And then...
And why don't you have a taste?
I could eat it like that.
Donna Hay returns to MasterClass with a sensational baked cheesecake.
Today we're learning to make our gourmet sausages. We already make the pork Toulouse, and now we're going to move on to the pork Italian. We're going to use the pork Toulouse as a base, and we're going to add 3 spices. We've got some whole fennel, some coarse pepper, and some ground oregano. So that's the spices to make a good Italian. To do that, I'm going to roast the fennel seed, you know, to extract the flavors, and after we're going to mortar and pestle. So what you're looking for when you're roasting any seed, you know, is a little bit of smell, you know what I mean? Like that nice smell of the phenols coming to your nose. Okay, so now you can stop it, and that's where we're gonna mortar and pestle. I'm gonna crush them until I get something like more powdery. Make sure there's not much seed left. Okay, it's almost done. So next, our pepper and some oregano as well. And I'm just going to give a little bit of mix, okay? So that's done. Now I'm going to add these 3 spices to the base of the Toulouse. But for 500 grams, I'm going to add around the value of 8 grams of that mix. And same thing, we give it a good mix, okay? And that's going to be your turn to doing. So you take a value of around 8 grams.
Smells amazing.
That smells good.
So there's actually 2 sorts of pepper in here now. There's the white pepper in the first lot, and then the black pepper.
That's right.
Black pepper.
The coarse one is more like for the texture. Yeah. The ground one is more like for the flavor, really. Okay, so we've got our pork Toulouse mix ready. So we're going to do the same things on the pork Toulouse. Same time than me. Second time you're doing it now, so you've got a better idea than the first time. Okay. So make sure that the casing is nicely put to the nozzle. Remember, you need to push through the meat as you go.
If we were to sort of make these at home, like you've got the sausages hanging here, would we hang the sausages before we cook them to dry them a little bit?
Yeah. The first reason is you want to achieve is to concentrate the flavor of the sausages. And the second thing is when you're going to cook them, that's going to help to have that crispiness and that color to the casing.
How long does it need to dry for?
At least 1 day, 24 hours.
Yeah. This is the hard part.
Oh. Yeah. Here we go.
Make a couple of little ones again.
Well done, guys. You know, that's our second sausages, the pork Italian. They look great. And now, the last sausages. It's a beautiful pork and apple cider one, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do, we're going to grate the apples. But the reason why I use green is like a little bit more acidic than the other type. So I've got around like 50 grams of grated apple. I'm gonna put that with the base of the pork Toulouse. And the other ingredient is the apple cider. So I'm gonna add 50 grams. I'm gonna mix everything together. So now I think you can start to do the same things. You're adding your apples, your cider. So we're gonna do the same things again in your bags. Let's go for the last one. The third one should be almost perfect. Pushing the mix until the end of the nozzle. Should be a little bit more easy with that mix because a little bit touch more soft. Here we go.
Yay.
Voila.
Well done, guys. You just made 3 types of sausages today, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to try them. Reason why? Is because sausages themselves need to be dry, to develop these flavors. But luckily, I did make some yesterday, so like that we can try these amazing flavors we just made today.
Perfect.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, the best way to cook these sausages, you need to cook them on a low heat. If you're going too fast, you're going to have a color straight away, but the inside is still going to be raw, okay? I'm just going to put my sausages in the pan. And it's going to take around 10 to 12 minutes, so usually around 6 minutes each side. Okay, so as you can see, they're almost ready. So you get a nice color every part of the sausages, So for me, they cook now. All right, so now we're gonna cut the sausages. So I'm gonna start to cut the pork Toulouse. Okay, so you can see, the meat, the chunkiness, and the shiny out.
Beautiful.
So the darkest color, that's the Italian. So you can see the inside, the color maybe change. That's from the spice, the oregano and the fennel. And the last one, the pork apple and cider. So this one, you can easily make the difference from the color of the skin, that's from the sugar from the apple. And normally, you're going to be able to see the skin of the apple as well, the green bits. Here we go, guys. The 3 beautiful sausages we make this afternoon.
Which one should we go for first?
You should try with the Toulouse, because it's the one that's got the less spices.
That's very good.
Actually tastes like pork, not your everyday sausage, which could be anything.
It's not mystery meat.
Try with the pork Italian.
Go for it.
That's good. The marriage of the herbs and the pepper really brings it all together. And
but the pepper's really fresh. It's not that hot sort of pepper thing you got often with peppercorns.
That's right.
Really nice.
And the last one, the apple and cider.
You definitely taste the sweetness there. It sort of cuts through the fat a bit, actually, really.
And then you've got the cider as well. You can actually taste the sort of acidity that comes with the cider. And it, again,
that's
cuts,
what you want. Just at the end, you don't want to overpower the meat, what I mean? Okay, guys, my top 3 tips to making gourmet sausages. The first one, a good quality meat. The second one is a good marinade and good seasoning. And number 3 is to dry the sausages to make sure we concentrate all this flavor we've just been adding to the mix. It has been a real pleasure to having you at Victor Churchill this afternoon. I hope you learn a few things, with these sausages. And I'm wishing you all the best for the rest of the competition, okay? Thanks a lot.
Cheers, very much appreciated.
Okay, good luck.
We'll just take another one of these though before.
Yeah, I think we'll do one of these.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
You're welcome.
Ahead on MasterClass.
I like to cook simply, so I'm not going to complicate it too much.
It's dessert time.
Onto the filling, and we are using 2 different types of cheese today.
Donna shows us the easy way to make the perfect baked cheesecake.
Each week on MasterClass, we like to end it with a tasty dessert. And can I tell you, we've got a treat for you. This week, we've pulled out the big guns, someone who is very special to us, someone who is part of the MasterChef family. She's sold millions of cookbooks throughout the world. She's the beautiful, the gorgeous, the intelligent Donna Hay.
Good.
Donna, meeting our contestants for the first time in Series 3.
They look great. Enthusiastic, big smiles.
Donna, it's great to have you back here in the MasterChef kitchen. What are you going to be cooking for us today?
I am going to be cooking a classic baked cheesecake.
Donna, I've eaten a lot of baked cheesecakes. Can I tell you, 99% of them that I've eaten have been really bad. So you're going to change that today?
Well, there's a couple of things about the cheesecake. It kind of seems easy because it's all in the food processor, but I think there's a couple of danger points. It's really easy to overcook a cheesecake, get terrible cracks in it, so presentation can be a little bit tricky. But I've got a lot of tips to show you that is going to get you smooth sailing through this
Fantastic.
recipe.
What's the first step?
Well, a lot of people start their baked cheesecake using store-bought biscuits and crush them up.
Okay.
But I find that that can give it a little bit of a funny kind of salty, sweet edge. So I just like to make a really, really simple base. You know, I like to cook simply.
Yep.
So I'm not going to complicate it too much. So just 3/4 of a cup of plain flour, then 1/3 of a cup of almond meal. I find that gives it a nice richness as well. And then 1/4 cup of caster sugar. And to make this really simple, I've just chopped up 90 grams of butter and I'm simply going to rub that through with my fingertips just to make a really easy base.
Do you want me to do that for you?
You know what? That would be lovely, Georgie.
I love the rubbing thing.
So what you want to do there is just to rub the butter through but not to melt it.
Yep.
So if you have really warm hands, lots of cooks have warm hands, don't they, Georgie? And
Look,
some have cool
I've got
hands.
cool hands but a really warm heart.
Of course you do, darling. I have warm hands. But if you have warm hands and you want to work with pastry or butter like this, what you need to do is actually put them in a bowl of ice water to start with, just to chill them down. Can I tell you about the tin?
Tell us about the tin.
Because you know you always like to have a little quip at me about my styling. You have to measure the tin. 20 centimetres we're looking for. Now, the way that these tins come is that there's a little lip on them, okay? And that's usually where you clip it in to the tin. Now, as ever being the stylist, trying to cut an even piece and getting under this lip to get it out, seriously cruel. Turn it over and have it the flat way.
So have it upside down?
Yeah, it still clips in.
Yeah.
Now, my other thing is that so you can get it off the base, just get a piece of non-stick baking paper, just push it up and clip it. Now,
Oh, wow.
if it's not in the right position, you just push it down and click it in.
That is a brilliant tip, that. I love that.
See, now we're going to get a really lovely, flush, even slice out of our cheesecake. Very glam.
That is glam.
Okay, so our tin's all prepared. How are you going?
Yeah, good. Is that good? Are you happy with that?
Fabulous.
Great.
Should look like rough breadcrumbs. So in with the mixture now. To get it nice and flat and smooth, just a dessert spoon. Just give it a rough press down. Now, good thing about using a spoon, Georgie, is that when you rub it over, you can feel like the little speed bumps in it.
Yeah.
So that way, it's just really easy just to keep working it and getting it flat because you can actually feel it under the spoon.
That is fantastic. Okay, so we've lined it. It's ready to rock and roll. What do we do next?
150 degrees, preheated oven, Celsius, 15 minutes. That's going to be enough. Nice, light golden colour.
Done.
Are you on that?
Yep.
Now that we've got our base in the oven, onto the filling, and we are using 2 different types of cheese today. Fresh ricotta.
Okay. So when you say fresh ricotta, what do you mean by that?
I mean nice, soft, squidgy, fresh ricotta, not the dry stuff. And this one, as you know, has a really lovely grainy texture as well. You don't want that soft, kind of smooth, chalky ricotta. This is the good stuff. So, 500 grams of ricotta.
Yep.
That is beautiful ricotta.
It is gorgeous, isn't it?
And then, of course, classically in a cheesecake, cream cheese.
Yep.
330 grams. I've just chopped it up to make sure that it goes through the processor.
Yep. What's next?
1 1/3 cups of caster sugar. Really important, 4 eggs. It's going to set our cheesecake, give it that nice velvety texture. 1/4 cup of lemon juice and a tablespoon of really finely grated lemon rind. And you can see that's all the yellow, no white pith in there at all. So no bitterness, just all flavour. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract. To stabilise the mixture in a baked cheesecake, you do need a little bit of starch. Otherwise, you get a little bit of overcooking of the proteins. It starts to weep. So you need a little bit of corn flour. I just like to combine that with the same amount of water. So 1 1/2 tablespoons of water, 1 1/2 tablespoons of corn flour. And I like to mix that to a paste first.
That's clever.
And that's our last ingredient in.
Fantastic.
All in.
All in. Press the button.
Okay.
Done.
That's good. So we have a really nice smooth consistency.
Should it be this runny?
Yeah, it should be. What happens is that ricotta does break down when you process it, but it still has a great texture when it's cooked. So it is the consistency of thick cream. That's what we're looking for, Georgie. And why don't you have a taste?
I could eat it like that. It's delicious.
Well, I think you're going to have to wait.
Oh.
Could you make this in a normal mix master, or would that put too much air in the mixture?
It does put too much air in it, and what I'm going to show you when we pour it over the base is actually how to get any of that excess air out of it, because as it cooks, the air bubbles rise and you get a really uneven surface. It kind of gets all dimply, so I was going to show you a few tricks how to get that out. So the filling's made, we just need to wait for our base to cook, and then I'm going to show you the rest of my tips for the perfect baked cheesecake.
Still to come.
And that residual heat in the oven cooks the cheesecake perfectly through.
Donna's expert tips and tricks for baking the perfect cheesecake.
Oh. We're here with the irresistible Donna Hay, making a classic baked cheesecake. The base is cooking in the oven. I think that's ready. You've made the mixture.
We are ready to go with the filling. Please, would you get the base for me? Absolutely.
Love to. You happy with that?
Absolutely. So, because it's this lovely golden brown, you know that the flour and the butter have cooked together to get rid of that uncooked flour taste. So it's a nice, beautiful, shortbready, crumbly biscuit
Love
base.
it. Absolutely love it. Right, what's the next step?
The next stage is just a little trick, because there's nothing worse than making a beautiful cheesecake only to find that you can't get out of the tin perfectly. So what I do at this stage is brush the sides really lightly with a little bit of butter. If you do it before you put the base in, the butter burns and it doesn't have the same non-stick effect. Just a really light covering.
Done.
Gorgeous.
Okay, what's the next stage?
Very difficult, the next stage. Pour in the mixture. Oh. I want a really nice high cheesecake. So this mixture
Do you need to put it all
feels, in? Absolutely, I need to put it all in. Now, you can see, George, that those bubbles are already coming up. Yeah. So I just like to give it a little tap. Don't be too violent with the tap, because if it comes up the sides, you're going to get an uneven cheesecake around the edges. So, and see how some of them don't burst? I just rub it with the back of a spoon just to encourage those bubbles to burst that are coming to the surface.
What would happen if you didn't do that and the bubbles were still in there?
It just gets a really uneven surface. It looks like the surface of the moon, a bit craterish. And, you know, being a food stylist, that just can't happen. Okay, 150 degrees, same temperature that we cooked the base at, for an hour.
1 hour.
It's not going to look perfectly cooked at the 1 hour mark. All you need to do then to get a gorgeous crust on the cheesecake is to leave it in the oven for another hour, but turn the oven off. Just let the oven cool down. And that residual heat in the oven cooks the cheesecake perfectly through, and it gives it a really light golden crust. I'm gonna get the oven door so you can slide that in for me. George, cheesecake has been cooking for an hour, and it's been resting for an hour, so I am going to take it out of the oven.
Okay. That looks beautiful. So you had it on for 150 degrees, cooking gently, and then you turned it off, residual heat for 1 hour, cooked it through.
And you can see what that's done.
That's ready to eat.
No, it's not, funnily enough.
What do you mean?
It's got to go in the fridge. But you can see we've got this beautiful browning of the cheesecake. Just enough, and set in the middle.
It's got to go in the fridge.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Sorry. You know, great cheesecake you have to wait for, George, at least a couple of hours in the fridge to chill down.
Wow.
Hours.
Wow.
Hours.
It's going to be a 5-hour cheesecake challenge.
Yes, well, luckily enough, I made you one beforehand, because I know
Donna.
that you have the patience of...
Yes, you know I haven't got patience. Right. Take it out of the ring.
Yeah.
Wow. Yum. Absolutely delicious. Oh.
I think now is the moment where we take a generous slice, don't you?
Oh. Glistening.
Perfectly cooked. So best way to tell, Georgie, is that the outside's not overcooked. That's the bit that usually looks a little bit weepy and overcooked if you've had it in the oven too long, or if the temperature's been too high. But I am pretty happy about that.
Great, all right.
So, George, you know my motto about styling. I always think that less is more. So because this is such a perfect piece of cheesecake, I think it just needs a couple of berries on the side, and I think that's done. So there you go, guys. That is my classic baked cheesecake.
This cheesecake looks absolutely beautiful. If Gary was here, he'd devour the whole...
Melon cheesecake for miles.
Of course.
you can.
That looks excellent. Nothing like any cheesecake I've ever made.
Right, tasting time. Danny, Andrew, and Billy. Right, guys, dig in.
This is the first baked cheesecake I actually like.
I agree. That's delicious.
I just love the texture. Normally, baked cheesecakes, it's a grainy, lumpy, almost texture. That
Dry.
Yeah, dry.
Tell us what you think, Billy.
I'm very interested in the base, actually. The base is really short, really creamy and buttery. Yeah.
Danny?
It's incredibly smooth and it's just a slight zinginess of the lemon. It's really lovely. And the base, it really complements the flavours of the creamy cheese. It's great.
Brilliant.
Thank
A
you,
recipe
Donna.
to bank.
Definitely.
Fantastic, guys. Go back.
Thank you.
So my top 3 tips for the perfect classic baked cheesecake are, number 1, make sure you prepare your tin properly. Flip the base over, baking paper, and don't forget that important step of buttering it after you've cooked the base, so the cheesecake filling comes out perfectly from the sides of the tin. Number 2, remove the air bubbles from the surface of the filling before you cook it. And number 3, cook it at 150 degrees Celsius for an hour, and the all-important, an hour resting time in the oven as well.
Donna, hey, a certain excitement happens when you enter the MasterChef kitchen, and you've excited us today with an absolutely beautiful baked cheesecake. It's so good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Darling.
And he even nibbled a bit off the end
You
of the
did.
cake. I can't believe you did that. I'd never do that,
No,
George.
you wouldn't wind me up like that, would you, guys?
See you later, my darling.
Guys, good luck in the competition. Hope to see you soon.
See you later.
Thanks, darling.
Mwah.
See ya.
Bye.
See you soon.
Bye, Donna.
It's been a massive week, a big masterclass. Let's grab some food, have something to eat and celebrate.
Red going that way?
White, ladies? Red?
I'll go red. Take some whites this way. Good.
Beautiful.
This is awesome.
Fantastic stuff. I like the crostini of Osso Buco. Guys, attention. Just want to say, 19 of you. Does it mean anything?
Yes.
It means something to us. The numbers are dwindling and the competition's getting serious. I think, honestly, some of you really felt the pressure this week. And that's what the competition's all about. From now on, it's going to get harder. We always talk about raising the bar, and this is what we're talking about. You've got to embrace that pressure, you've got to feel a little bit of nerves, and you've got to dig in, because this is a battle. And if you look at each other now, one of you is going to be Australia's next MasterChef. Is it sinking in? Guys, I just want to tell you that you have no idea what's coming this week. It's massive, we know the secrets, and we can't wait. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. To a big week.
Sunday night on MasterChef Australia. A Western Australian adventure begins. And it kicks off with our biggest challenge ever. Catering on a massive scale.
450 miners, 24 hours.
And they all need to be fed.
They've never faced anything like this before.
You are about to get hit with another wave of miners.
What next wave? Surely we've fed at least 600 of them already.
And it just keeps getting worse.
It's frozen.
Would you eat that?
No. Like something you'd feed a giraffe in a zoo. Who's ready to serve?
I can't find anything.
this has taken too long.
I have to go and see Danny. I have to wake Danny up.